My wife divorced me and kicked me out after her sister showed her fake hotel receipts and accused me of cheating. I told her, "One day you'll regret this." A year later, her sister drunkenly confessed. I lied. I wanted him. Hello Reddit I plus here. My name is Nathan Alvarez, and I used to believe in unshakable trust. I was 32, married to the woman I thought was the love of my life, and building a future I was proud of. Looking back now, it's almost surreal to think about how quickly everything unraveled, how one lie, no, one carefully orchestrated trap, tore my marriage apart and reshaped my entire world. Lydia and I had been together nearly a decade, married for 5 years. She was 29 then, smart, ambitious, and fiercely determined in her career as a marketing director. I admired her drive, even if it meant she often came home late, exhausted from long meetings or campaign launches. I wasn't exactly predictable either. Running my own IT consulting business meant late nights at client offices, emergency calls at odd hours, and weeks where I'd be glued to my laptop. But I believed we balanced each other. I made it a point to plan little surprises. Flowers delivered to her office, handwritten notes slipped into her purse, weekend getaways just to breathe outside the city. We weren't perfect. We argued sometimes about money, schedules, and who was putting more effort into the relationship. But I truly thought we had something solid. Something worth fighting for. There was one complication, though. Her younger sister. Amber was 25 at the time, Lydia's younger sister by 4 years, and she treated our house like it was her own. She'd drop by unannounced, sprawl on the couch with her shoes still on, and help herself to our wine without asking. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Lydia loved having her around. It made her feel connected to her family. But as time passed, Amber's presence began to gnaw at me. The way her eyes lingered too long when I walked into a room. The casual brushes of her hand on my arm. The questions she asked about my work, my hobbies, even my workout routines. Questions she rarely asked her own sister. Once, at a barbecue, she leaned in close while Lydia was across the yard and murmured, "She doesn't realize how lucky she is." Then she smiled, a smile that felt more like a dare than a compliment. I laughed it off, uncomfortable, and tried to forget it. I didn't tell Lydia. What was I supposed to say? That her little sister was acting strange? I didn't want to drive a wedge between them, so I stayed quiet. I see now that silence was my biggest mistake. It was April, our 5th wedding anniversary. I had planned the whole evening. Dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant, a night at the boutique hotel downtown where we'd stayed on our honeymoon, even a small gift, a locket with a photo of us from our college days tucked inside. I left work early, heart racing with anticipation. I remember humming on my way home, rehearsing how I'd surprise her, how I'd remind her that even after all these years, she was still the center of my world. When I walked through the door, the atmosphere hit me like a wall. The house was quiet, too quiet, except for the sound of my wife's breathing. Lydia sat at the kitchen table, her hands clenched around a stack of papers, her eyes burning with a fury I'd never seen before. "Nathan," she said, her voice tight and trembling. "Sit down." Confused, I set my keys on the counter and approached. On the table were receipts, hotel bookings, restaurant bills, even a jewelry store invoice for a diamond bracelet I'd supposedly bought. My name, my credit card, my signature. "What's this?" I asked, already feeling cold dread creep into my chest. "Don't pretend you don't know," she snapped, slamming her hand on the table. "Amber found them in your car this morning. How long have you been lying to me?" "Amber." My stomach twisted. "Lydia?" I said carefully, picking up one of the receipts. "These aren't real. I've never stayed at this hotel. Look, the date on this one? That night I was at Cooper Tech, installing their new servers until midnight. I can call the team right now. They'll vouch for me." "Stop it," she hissed. "Amber saw you at a coffee shop with a blonde 2 days ago. She even has pictures." I shook my head so fast it almost made me dizzy. "That's not possible. I was in a client's office that entire day. Call them. They'll confirm." She didn't want to hear it. Her rage boiled over. She grabbed a glass from the counter and hurled it against the wall. It shattered into glittering pieces at my feet. "Do you think I'm an idiot, Nathan? Do you think I don't see the signs? You've been distant, secretive, and now I have proof. Get out." I froze. "Lydia, we've been together 10 years. I love you. Please listen to me. These are fake. Someone set me up." "Amber, don't you dare drag my sister into this," she screamed, her face red with fury. "She's been protecting me from you. She's the only one who saw the truth. I want you gone. I want a divorce." Her words slammed into me like a freight train. Divorce. Over forged papers and her sister's lies. She wouldn't even let me explain. Wouldn't check a single fact. Something in me went cold. I stared at her. the woman I had built my life around, and I realized she had already chosen who to believe. "Fine," I said quietly. My voice didn't even sound like mine. "If that's what you want, I'll go. But remember this moment, Lydia. One day, you'll regret it. One day you'll realize what you threw away." I grabbed a bag, stuffed a few essentials inside, and walked out without looking back. The weeks that followed were hell. Lydia told everyone I had been cheating. Friends, family, co-workers, all of them heard her version. Some stopped answering my calls. Others sent me messages dripping with disappointment. I tried to fight back. I showed my credit card statements. No trace of the supposed purchases. I brought alibis from clients and co-workers for the exact dates Amber accused me of cheating. I even hired a private investigator who confirmed the receipts had been forged. None of it mattered. Lydia didn't care about truth. She cared about the story that made her the victim. And Amber? She was always there, holding her hand, whispering in her ear, painting me as the monster. The divorce was finalized in 6 months. Lydia got the house. I moved into a small apartment across town. I was the villain in the story, and no one wanted to hear my side. But pain has a way of forging steel. For months, I could barely eat, barely sleep. Nights blurred into mornings. I walked through life like a ghost, but little by little, I clawed my way back. I threw myself into my business, expanding it, hiring a small team, taking on clients I once thought were out of my league. I started hitting the gym, not just to rebuild my body but to clear my head. I reconnected with old friends who had stood by me quietly, and I discovered new hobbies: photography, hiking, even cooking. Piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. And then I met Elena. Elena was 30, the owner of a successful design studio. She hired my firm to upgrade her company's systems. At first it was strictly professional, but her kindness, her humor, her genuine warmth, things I hadn't felt in years, pulled me in. Slowly, carefully, we grew closer. Dinners turned into dates. Dates turned into weekends away. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope again. When I asked her to marry me, I wasn't just proposing. I was reclaiming my future. It was almost exactly a year after my divorce when I saw Amber again. At a party, drunk, mascara smeared, a glass of wine in her hand. She cornered me on the balcony, swaying slightly. "You know," she slurred, "I never thought Lydia would actually divorce you. I just wanted you for myself. The receipts, the coffee shop story. Yeah, I made it all up." She was too easy to convince. I stared at her, my chest tight, fury and vindication warring inside me. "You ruined my marriage for your own sick fantasy," I said, my voice low and sharp. Amber laughed bitterly. "You were supposed to come crawling to me after she threw you out, but you didn't. You just moved on." Guess I didn't think that far ahead. I left her standing there, empty and pathetic. I didn't need her confession. I already had everything I needed. Weeks later, Elena and I posted our engagement photos online, laughing together under twinkling lights in a vineyard. I felt proud, alive, finally free of the weight I had carried. That's when my phone started buzzing. Messages. From Lydia. "Please, Nathan, come back. I was wrong. You're the love of my life. I see it now." I stared at the screen for a long time. Memories flooded back, the glass shattering against the wall, her screaming for me to get out, her refusing to even glance at the proof I had begged her to see. She had chosen her sister's lies over me. She had let me drown alone. I put the phone down, slid my arm around Elena, and smiled. That chapter of my life was closed forever. The night Lydia's first text came, I ignored it. Then another came. And another. By the third day, I had nearly 20 messages from her. "Please, Nathan, just talk to me. I made a mistake. I didn't know Amber lied. We can fix this. We can be us again." Every vibration of my phone brought back a ghost of the man I used to be, the man who would have dropped everything to rush to her side. But that man had died the night she threw me out, without listening, without trust, without love. I didn't respond. 2 weeks later, she showed up. I had just finished a late meeting and was walking to my car when I heard her voice in the parking lot. "Nathan." I turned, and there she was, Lydia. She looked nothing like the woman I used to know. Her hair was disheveled, makeup smeared like she'd been crying, and her eyes were hollow, desperate. "Please," she whispered, stepping closer. "Just hear me out." I took a step back, keeping distance. "There's nothing left to hear." She shook her head violently. "Amber confessed. She admitted she made it all up. I should have believed you. I was stupid, blind. But now we can start over. We can rebuild." I cut her off. My voice was steady, but inside, my chest burned with a mix of old pain and newfound strength. "You didn't just doubt me, Lydia. You condemned me without a chance to defend myself. You told the world I was a cheater. You took my reputation, my home, my marriage, and handed it to your sister on a silver platter. And when I brought proof, when I begged you to look at the facts, you turned away." Her lip trembled. "I was manipulated, don't you see?" Amber knew exactly how to twist me. She knew all the right buttons to push. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "You didn't mean to?" "Lydia, intent doesn't erase the damage. You threw me away like garbage. Now you want me back because you realized you were wrong? Because you're lonely? That's not love, that's desperation." Tears slid down her cheeks. She reached out as if to touch me, but I stepped aside. "I'm engaged now, Lydia. And the difference is, she believes in me. She trusts me. She would never throw me to the wolves because of someone else's lies." Her hand dropped. She stared at me, broken. "You really don't love me anymore?" she whispered. I met her eyes, the woman I once thought I'd grow old with, and said the words I never thought I'd say. "No, Lydia, I don't." And I walked away. But Lydia wasn't done. Over the next month she tried everything. At first, she played the guilt card. Long emails about our memories together, pictures of vacations, screenshots of old love notes I had written. We were perfect once. Don't let Amber win. Don't let her destroy what we had. When I didn't respond, she shifted tactics. Anger. "How dare you move on so fast? How dare you throw away 10 years for some rebound? You'll regret this." When that didn't work, she tried pity. "I can't sleep. I can't eat. I miss you so much it hurts." But each message felt like a chain she was trying to wrap around me again, and I refused to wear it. The final time she confronted me was the most desperate. She came to my apartment unannounced, pounding on the door until I opened it. Elena was there with me, and I could feel Lydia's eyes burn as she saw her. "Her?" Lydia spat, her voice trembling. "This is who you threw me away for?" I stood in the doorway, blocking her path. "No, you did that yourself." She broke then, her composure crumbling. She dropped to her knees right there in the hallway, sobbing, clutching at my jeans. "Please, Nathan. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy, I'll make it right, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I love you. Just don't leave me like this. I can't survive without you." For a moment, just a fleeting second, the old part of me wanted to reach down, to comfort her, to believe her words. But then, I looked back at Elena, standing quietly, steady, the embodiment of the trust and loyalty I had been starved of for so long, and I knew, gently but firmly. I pried Lydia's hands from my clothes. "You survived just fine when you thought I was guilty. You'll survive now. But not with me." Her sobs turned into anger, into curses, into wild promises, but I closed the door. And this time, it stayed closed. A week later, Elena and I flew to Italy for a short trip. On a sunlit balcony overlooking Florence, we toasted with glasses of wine. I told her about Lydia's last attempt, and Elena just held my hand and said, "You don't owe her anything. You owe yourself peace." And she was right. I wasn't the man Lydia had thrown out anymore. I was stronger, wiser, free. The lies that once destroyed me had forged me into something unbreakable. And no matter how many desperate texts, calls, or visits Lydia tried, she was nothing more than a shadow in my past. My future was standing right beside me.